I stared at the name tag, the cursive letters mocking me in my mother's perfect handwriting. The disappointment. Of course she'd think this was funny. Another little jab at her failure of a daughter at Dad's lavish 60th birthday celebration. The ballroom of the Grand Plaza Hotel buzzed with Atlanta's elite CEOs, politicians, old money families who'd known us for generations. All of them wearing proper name tags with their proper names, while I stood here, clutching a champagne flute and wearing my mother's idea of a joke. "Oh good, you found your seat," Mom's voice dripped with artificial sweetness as she glided past in her designer gown. "The name tag suits you, don't you think?" I took a slow sip of champagne, letting the expensive bubbles dance on my tongue. 5 years of careful planning had led to this moment. 5 years of building my empire in absolute silence while they believed I was barely scraping by as a struggling consultant. "Lauren." My younger sister Melissa's voice carried across the ballroom. "Come sit with us. Though you might want to fix your dress first, it's showing wear at the seams." I glanced down at my worn Valentino dress, purchased yesterday for more than Dad's monthly mortgage payment. But they didn't need to know that. Not yet. Taking my assigned seat at the family table, I watched Dad hold court across the room. Thomas Richardson, banking magnate and Atlanta's favorite son, soaking in admiration from his carefully curated guest list. His perfect wife, his perfect younger daughter who followed in his banking footsteps, and then, me. "Ladies and gentlemen," Dad's voice boomed through the microphone, "thank you all for coming tonight. 60 years of life has taught me the importance of family, success, and leaving a legacy." I reached into my clutch, fingers brushing against the envelope that would change everything. "My greatest pride," Dad continued, "has been building Richardson Banking from the ground up, creating something lasting for the next generation." His eyes landed on Melissa, beaming with pride. "My youngest daughter is already making waves as our youngest ever vice president of operations." The crowd applauded. Melissa preened. "Of course," Mom's stage whispered to our table, "some of us understand the value of family legacy better than others." She glanced pointedly at my name tag, drawing quiet laughs from the surrounding socialites. I stood up slowly, champagne glass in hand. The crystal caught the light, sending prisms dancing across the white tablecloth. "I'd like to make a toast," I said, my voice carrying across the sudden quiet. Dad's speech faltered. Mom's perfectly lined lips pressed into a thin line. Melissa's smugness wavered slightly. "To family legacy," I continued, raising my glass. "To understanding what really matters. To the last time you'll ever see me." The silence that followed was absolute. Dad recovered first, forcing a laugh. "Lauren, always dramatic. Sit down, dear, you're embarrassing yourself." "Again." "No, Dad. Not this time." I reached into my clutch and pulled out the envelope. "I brought you a birthday present. Would you like to know what it is?" Before he could respond, I opened the envelope and pulled out a stack of papers. "These are ownership transfer documents. As of 9 this morning, I own controlling interest in Richardson Banking Group." The champagne glass slipped from Dad's hand, shattering on the marble floor. "That's impossible," Melissa sputtered. "The bank has been family-owned for 3 generations." "Yes," I nodded. "And now it belongs to me. Well, technically to Phoenix Financial, my company. The same company that's been systematically acquiring Richardson Banking's debt for the past 5 years." Mom stood up so quickly her chair toppled backward. "You're lying. You can barely afford that knockoff dress. Valentino, actually. Yesterday's purchase cost more than your monthly country club fees." I smiled, the same smile I used in boardrooms before executing a hostile takeover. "Would you like to see my receipts? I keep very detailed records. Unlike Richardson Banking's creative accounting department." The color drained from Dad's face. He knew exactly what I was referring to: the irregular transactions, the covered-up losses, the questionable loans. All the secrets I'd uncovered during my silent acquisition. "You see," I continued, addressing the now deathly quiet room, "while you were all laughing at the family disappointment, I was building something. Something bigger than this bank, bigger than your legacy." I walked to the center of the room, heels clicking against marble, commanding attention just as Dad had taught me back when he still thought I was worth teaching. Phoenix Financial now controls banking interests across 3 continents. Our technology division is revolutionizing financial services. Our market cap. I paused, savoring the moment, is roughly 12 times that of Richardson Banking. Melissa grabbed the papers, her Harvard business degree finally proving useful as she read through the documents. These are real, she whispered. She really did it. Did what exactly? Asked one of the board members, rising from his seat. Purchased enough shares and debt to take control, I explained. Don't worry, your jobs are safe. Well, most of them. We'll need to clean house and upper management, starting with the Richardson family. You can't fire your own family, Mom protested weakly. Actually, I can. And I will. I turned to face them fully. Consider this my resignation from the role of family disappointment. I quit. Walking toward the exit, I paused at their table one last time. Reaching up, I removed the name tag and dropped it into Mom's champagne glass. By the way, I said softly, I've arranged for a press conference tomorrow morning. 8 a.m. sharp. Try to dress appropriately. It's not every day a family loses their bank to their greatest disappointment. The doors swung shut behind me, cutting off the eruption of voices. In the lobby, my assistant waited with a tablet. Everything's ready for tomorrow, she confirmed. The press is already gathering outside Richardson Banking headquarters. I smiled, stepping into the warm Atlanta night. Behind me, a dynasty was crumbling. Ahead of me, an empire was rising. And I was just getting started. The next morning, I stood in my penthouse office at Phoenix Financial's headquarters, watching the sun rise over Atlanta's skyline. 60 floors up, the city looked peaceful, unaware of the earthquake about to rock its financial district. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since last night, texts, calls, and emails from family members, board members, and journalists. I'd ignored them all. Let them wait. I'd waited 5 years for this moment. Ms. Richardson, my assistant Sarah, appeared at the door. Your father is in the lobby. He's demanding to see you. I checked my watch, 6:45 a.m. How does he look? Like he hasn't slept. Mrs. Richardson and Ms. Melissa are with him. Perfect. I smoothed my black Armani suit. Let them wait 15 minutes, then send them up. And Sarah? Make sure security has the footage from last night's party ready. While waiting, I reviewed the documents spread across my desk. Every transaction, every questionable deal, every ethical breach I'd uncovered during my investigation of Richardson Banking. The evidence that would make their removal not just justified but necessary. At 7 a.m. sharp, my office doors opened. Dad stormed in first, his tuxedo from last night replaced by a rumpled suit. Mom followed, her usual perfect appearance showing cracks. Melissa brought up the rear, clutching a thick folder, probably filled with desperate legal strategies. This ends now, Dad demanded, his voice hoarse. Whatever game you're playing, Dash. Game. I interrupted, pressing a button that lowered the room's privacy screens. Like the game you played with investor funds in 2019? Or the game you played with the offshore accounts in 2021? He paled slightly. Those were legitimate business, Dash. Decisions. I finished, pulling up documents on my office's wall screens. Let's talk about decisions. Like your decision to liquidate my trust fund to cover Melissa's failed digital banking initiative. Or your decision to tell every contact in Atlanta that I was mentally unstable when I refused to join the family business. Mom stepped forward, attempting her usual social manipulation. Darling, we were trying to protect you, Dash. By sabotaging my first consulting firm? By warning potential clients away? By mocking me at every family gathering? I pulled up more documents. I have emails, Mother. Very interesting emails. Melissa finally spoke up, her voice shaking slightly. The board won't accept this. They'll fight, Dash. The board. I laughed, genuinely amused. You mean the board that's been investigating your department's irregularities for the past year? The same board that's received comprehensive evidence of management misconduct this morning. I pressed another button, bringing up a live feed of Richardson Banking's lobby. Dozens of reporters were gathering, along with what appeared to be federal investigators. What have you done? Dad whispered. I built something better, I replied. While you were focused on maintaining your precious legacy, I was creating the future of banking. Phoenix Financial isn't just another bank. We're a financial technology company that's revolutionizing the industry. Walking to the window, I gestured at the city below. See that building with your name on it? By noon today, it'll bear the Phoenix logo. By end of business your executive team will be gone. By the end of the week Richardson Banking will cease to exist as you know it. You'll destroy everything we built, Mom said, tears threatening her perfect makeup. No, I corrected her. I'll make it better than you ever could. Your outdated methods, your old boys network, your resistance to change, it all ends today. Dad suddenly lurched forward, grabbing my arm. You ungrateful dash. Before he could finish, security appeared at the door. Is everything all right, Ms. Richardson? Perfect timing, I smiled. Please escort my family to the press conference. Make sure they have front row seats. As security led them out, I called after them. Oh, and Mom? About that name tag from last night. I held up my new business card, Phoenix Financial Group. I had a better one made. The next hour passed in a blur of preparation. By 7:45 a.m., I stood in Phoenix Financial's main auditorium, facing a sea of reporters, board members and shell-shocked Richardson Banking executives. My family sat in the front row as requested. Good morning, I began, my voice carrying through the packed room. Today marks the end of an era in Atlanta banking, and the beginning of a revolution. The presentation behind me displayed Phoenix Financial's achievements, our technological innovations, our market growth, our global reach. Everything I'd built while they thought I was failing. Richardson Banking Group will be fully absorbed into Phoenix Financial, I announced. All branches will be modernized. All systems will be upgraded. All management. I paused, looking directly at my family, will be replaced. The reporters' cameras clicked frantically, capturing the moment the disappointment became the destroyer. But this isn't about destruction, I continued. It's about evolution. Banking shouldn't be about maintaining tradition. It should be about embracing the future. And the future, I smiled, watching my father's face crumble, belongs to those who dare to disappoint expectations. As the questions erupted from the crowd, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the podium's glass, confident, powerful, unstoppable. Not a disappointment. Not anymore. The family disappointment had just become the family's worst nightmare. The aftermath of the press conference was exactly what I'd anticipated: chaos, outrage, and the sweet sound of empire crumbling. As I sat in my office reviewing the morning's media coverage, Sarah appeared with an urgent update. The Richardson Banking Board has called an emergency meeting, she reported. And your sister Melissa is trying to rally support from major shareholders. I smiled, pulling up a series of documents on my screens. Show them this, I said, forwarding the files. Particularly the audit of Melissa's division. I'm sure the board will find her creative accounting methods fascinating. My phone buzzed, a message from Dad's oldest friend and business partner, James Whitmore. We need to talk. Private club, 1 hour. The Atlanta Capital Club, where all the city's real business decisions were made, usually over expensive scotch and cigars. The same club that had rejected my membership application 3 years ago, citing traditional membership guidelines. Sarah, call the Capital Club. Tell them the new owner of their building wants to use the main dining room. Yes, they don't know I bought the building yet. An hour later I walked into the same club that once turned me away. The doorman who used to ignore me now rushed to open the door. The manager who once rejected my application stood nearby, clearly nervous. Inside the dining room, James Whitmore and the rest of the board waited. All of them were older men who looked like they hadn't slept in days. Lauren, James started in a fake caring voice, we've known you since you were a child. And you've underestimated me since I was a child, I said, taking the seat at the head of the table. Let's skip the drama and get to the point. One of them, Mr. Fuller, leaned forward. Your father built this bank into an outdated mess, I cut in. Would you rather look at the growth stats or the rule-breaking I've uncovered? I opened my laptop. Charts appeared showing how Phoenix Financial, my company, had grown 1,200% while their bank barely moved. They shifted in their seats. The shareholders won't agree to this, one protested. The shareholders? I smiled. You mean the ones who've been losing money? They've already approved the merger with Phoenix Financial. I pointed to their buzzing phones. Check for yourselves. As they read the messages showing the shareholders' support for me, their faces dropped. You planned this from the start, James said. Used your family name. No, I replied coldly. You did this. Every time you ignored change, every time you supported my father's outdated ways, you built this failure. I just gave it the final push. Just then the club manager walked in. Ms. Richardson, your other guests have arrived. A team of auditors and legal officers walked in behind him. Gentlemen, I said, meet your new oversight team. They'll be reviewing all board activities starting now. The room fell silent. They knew what those audits would uncover. You can't do this, one of them whispered. The Richardson name belongs to me now, I said. You have two choices. Resign quietly and take your severance or face the consequences. You have 1 hour. I stood up and adjusted my suit. Oh, and James, tell my father his office should be cleared by noon. Security will help him pack. As I walked out, my phone buzzed. A text from Mom. We're still family. You can't erase us. I typed back, watch me. Back at Phoenix Financial HQ, things were already moving. Crews were removing the Richardson name from the building. Tech teams were merging systems. HR was sending out final notices. Sarah met me with an update. Your sister tried to open the executive files. We already shut down her access. Your mom's in the lobby of the house owned by the bank. The family home, I said, pulling up the deed. Tell her she has 30 days to leave. It's being turned into a tech training center for underprivileged youth. And your father? I looked out the window at the last letters of Richardson being taken down. Still in his office? Yes. Refusing to leave. Wants to talk to you. I checked the time. Let him have 15 more minutes. Then send in security. My phone buzzed again. A message from Melissa. You've destroyed our family. I stared out at the city I now owned and typed back. No. I destroyed the lies. The family was already broken. I just stopped pretending it wasn't. On my desk was the name tag from last night, The Disappointment, written by my mother. Next to it, my new business cards. Lauren Richardson, Go Phoenix Financial Group. Sometimes the one they call a disappointment becomes the one who builds a dynasty.